The quiet hum of fluorescent lights filled the 42nd floor of Whitmore Enterprises, where Emily Carter worked the night shift. It was nearly 3 a.m., and beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago twinkled beneath a wintry sky. Emily, 26, had scrubbed these marble floors for 6 months, finding peace and solitude after years of chaotic day jobs and an even more chaotic childhood. She never expected to set foot on the 45th floor CEO territory. But a storm had knocked out power, and tonight her supervisor handed her a keycard. "Clean quickly, he's out of town." But he wasn't. As she neared the corner office, Emily heard a voice inside. She froze, then silence. The lights flickered. Emergency red glow bathed the hall. The door opened. A tall figure stepped out, speaking briefly, thinking she was security. Emily held her breath as he walked away. She knew she should leave, but something pulled her toward the open door. Inside, the office was immaculate leather chairs, polished desk, corporate awards, and then something personal, a black frame, glowed under a backup lamp. Inside, a photo of a girl with green eyes, gap-toothed smile, and a silver star necklace. Emily dropped her supplies. The photo was her. The exact same one she kept in her wallet. Same background, same chip necklace. "What?" she whispered, pulling out her copy. Then she heard a voice behind her. "Who are you?" She turned sharply. Richard Whitmore stood in the doorway. He stared at her. His eyes were the same green as hers. "You have her eyes," he murmured. "Claire's eyes. Why do you have my photo?" she asked, trembling. "That's not your photo," he replied, voice cracking. "That's my daughter. She died 21 years ago. Her name was Emily Whitmore." Emily's heart stopped. She was 5 when she entered foster care. No memory of before. No family. Just that photo. That name. She pulled it from her wallet and held it out. "I've had this all my life," she said. "They said I survived. Something. That no one came for me." Richard's face drained of color. "Show me your necklace," he whispered. Emily pulled the silver star from beneath her shirt, holding it out. Richard froze, breath caught, eyes wide. He slowly took out his phone and turned on the flashlight. In that circle of light he saw it, the nose, the chin, the same stubborn cowlick she could never tame. "Emily," he whispered. Her name left his mouth like a prayer. "My God, you're alive." The silence between them was unbearable. Emily's voice broke it. "You said she died?" "I believe she did," Richard said, clutching his chest. There was a fire. Claire and Emily were inside. With trembling hands, he opened a drawer and pulled out an old folder. Inside were photos, a beautiful woman with dark hair and a little girl who looked just like Emily. "That's Claire, my wife, and you." "My daughter," Emily touched her necklace. Richard explained the fire, the misidentification, the necklace found near a charred body. He'd mourned her for 21 years. She lifted her sleeves, revealing old burn scars. "I always wondered," Richard stared. "You were there, you survived." She told him about growing up in the system, the inconsistent stories. Richard tried to piece it all together: confusion, chaos, hospitals, a misidentified child. "A daughter lost, but never gone. I've thought about you every day," he said. "There's even a foundation in your name. You probably benefited from it." "And never knew." Emily held her necklace. He pulled out the identical one, a backup Claire had kept. "She always thought ahead," he said, voice cracking. "I don't remember anything before the hospital," Emily admitted. "But I want to," Richard's voice softened. "Then let's begin again. If you want." "I'd like that," she whispered. The next morning, sunlight painted Chicago in gold as Emily sat in Richard's Mercedes, still in her cleaning uniform. "We're seeing Dr. Harrison," he said. "DNA test. For the world, not for me." At the hospital, the blood draw was quick. Outside, Richard smiled gently. "Now, let me show you something." As they drove to Lincoln Park, he shared childhood stories about tea parties for the mailman, about Halloween costumes in July. Emily listened, trying to merge the fearless girl he described with the quiet, guarded woman she became. "Maybe," she said quietly, "things changed. After everything. Trauma changes people." Richard said gently. "But I still see that fearless little girl in you. She's still there." They parked in front of a lovely ivy-covered townhouse. Richard's grip tightened on the wheel. "This was our home," he said quietly. "After the fire, I bought it back. I couldn't bear to see strangers in Claire's dream house." Emily studied the red door, the white shutters. Everything looked warm and completely unfamiliar. "Do you live here now?" "No, I've been restoring it. Told myself it was an investment. Truth is, I was chasing ghosts, maybe hoping to bring you back." They sat in silence, watching a young mother pass by with a stroller. Emily wondered, who would she have become if that fire hadn't stolen everything? "I don't want to pressure you," Richard said. "We've lost 2 decades. I don't expect to make that up overnight." Emily met his eyes. "You're a CEO. I clean offices. I'm not sure how this is supposed to work. I don't care what you do. You're my daughter, that's all that matters." Her chest tightened. "I've never had a family. I don't know how to be someone's daughter." "There are no rules," he said softly. "We figure it out together. But I do know this, I won't fail you again." Something shifted inside her, terrifying and hopeful all at once. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's try." The next 48 hours were surreal. Richard cleared his schedule, took her shopping, introduced her to his staff, calling her someone special. He showed her childhood photos, remembering little things like her coffee order or moving a chair beside his desk for her to relax while he worked. Those tiny gestures struck her hardest, his unconscious protection, the familiarity he carried. Then Vanessa showed up, tall, polished, expensive. She swept into Richard's office like she owned it. "Richard, darling, I brought lunch." She froze when she saw Emily. "Vanessa, this is Emily," Richard said, warmth in his voice. "My executive assistant," he added flatly. Vanessa's smile was professional, but her eyes scanned the photos on his desk, the ones of Emily as a child. Emily knew a dismissal when she heard one. Richard asked her to step out for lunch. As she left, Vanessa's voice dropped sharp. "Who is she? Why are there pictures of her everywhere?" Emily didn't hear his reply. But something about Vanessa's tone made her uneasy. "Not all miracles come without complications." Friday, 3:17 p.m., Dr. Harrison's call came while they were eating takeout. Richard answered. His expression shifted from tension to absolute relief. 99.7% match, he said, voice cracking. "You're my daughter." Emily felt the truth land like thunder. "I have a father, and I have my daughter back." What followed was a whirlwind. A lawyer arrived. Emily's name was restored, legally, permanently. An estate attorney updated Richard's will. Trust funds, accounts, investment portfolios. More money than she could process. "This is too much," she whispered. "It's what you were always meant to have," he said. "It being stolen from me doesn't change that." That evening, Richard took her to a quiet restaurant. The waitstaff greeted him like family. Emily sat quietly as he told stories about Claire. "She'd be proud of you," he said, raising a glass. She believed parenting was about helping children become who they truly are. Emily touched her necklace. "I wish I could remember." I have hours of home videos," Richard said softly. "Birthdays, lullabies, moments she saved. For you." "When you're ready," Richard said softly, "I'd love to show you some old videos. Maybe they'll help spark memories." Over desert, Emily noticed how different he seemed now. The aloof, stern businessman she'd heard whispers about had softened into someone who laughed, thanked servers by name, and left generous tips without thinking twice. Finding her hadn't just changed her life. It had revived something in him, too. "I've been thinking about the Lincoln Park house," Richard said. "It's time to stop treating it like a shrine. I want to make it a home again." "You'd live there again?" Emily asked. "I want us to live there," he replied. "It was your home first. It should be again." The thought sent a thrill through her, scary but exciting. "I'd like that," she said. Later that evening, back at his downtown penthouse, Richard showed her a guest room with calming blues, white linens, and a lake view that took her breath away. "I know you've Still got a lease, he said gently. But if you ever want to stay here, the room's yours. Emily hesitated. Can I ask something? Anything. Are you sure you want this? Me? Her voice wavered. I know the DNA proves it, but I'm not the little girl you lost. I've changed. I'm complicated. Richard stepped closer, voice firm. I've spent 21 years with a missing piece in my life. I'm not trying to replace what I lost. I'm embracing what I've found. You don't have to change. You're already enough. Tears welled in her eyes, not from fear or grief, but something new, belonging. I've never heard anyone say that to me, she whispered. Well, get used to it, he smiled. Because I'm not going anywhere. At night, Emily lay in bed, staring out at the city lights, no longer invisible, no longer alone. For the first time, she had someone who would miss her if she didn't come home. Someone who looked at her not for what she did, but who she was. She considered calling in sick the next day. Richard had said she didn't need to work anymore. But the job, modest as it was, had given her independence. A reason to get up every morning. She wasn't quite ready to let that go, across town. Vanessa Blake lay awake for very different reasons. For 2 days, she'd been investigating the woman who had suddenly stepped into Richard's world. What she hadn't found was more troubling than what she had. No family, no close ties, no traceable past. To most people, that might not mean anything. But to Vanessa, Richard's longtime assistant and self-declared future, it screamed danger. Vanessa had built her life around being the one constant in Richard's promotions, reputation, proximity. Now, this ghost girl threatened it all. In her sleek apartment, Vanessa sipped expensive wine and scrolled through her laptop, reviewing her findings. Emily Carter seemed to appear out of nowhere 6 months ago. Scattered work history, no deep roots, no digital footprint. It was a red flag disguised as a person. Her phone buzzed. Jack Monroe, the pie she'd quietly hired, messaged, Millennium Park, 1 hour, bring cash. Vanessa smirked. Jack always got results, legal or not. At the park, she found him in his usual trench coat, sipping bad coffee. Tell me you've got something, she said, handing over an envelope. Jack nodded. Your girl's clean, too clean, no criminal record, no debts. But here's the weird part. Her life before 18? Almost non-existent. Meaning, sealed files, foster homes, scattered schools. Like someone wiped her slate. He pulled up a phone screen. She applied for the janitorial job right after this article ran in the Tribune. Vanessa read the headline, CEO still honors family lost in tragic fire. The article detailed Richard's loss and his support of orphan charities. She saw this, Vanessa said, and made her move. Maybe, could be, she wanted to connect. Or she saw an opportunity. Vanessa's face hardened. Doesn't matter why. She has to be stopped. And she had a plan, subtle, cruel, effective. I hope this girl isn't taking advantage of your kindness, she said casually the next morning, setting Richard's coffee on his desk. She's not, he replied firmly, but Vanessa caught the tension in his jaw and smiled. I'm just saying, Vanessa had murmured innocently, when you've been through great loss, sometimes you want something to be true so badly it colors what you see. She never accused, never pushed. She planted doubt, carefully, strategically, and while Richard began to second-guess the miracle he'd waited 2 decades for, Jack Monroe did the dirty work, surveillance photos of Emily, perfectly legal activities, but sinister when framed differently, printing documents, visiting libraries, standing outside the Tribune building the day after a feature on Richard's charitable work ran individually. Harmless. Together. Damning. And the DNA test? That's where Jack's network came in. A vulnerable lab tech, drowning in gambling debts, was willing for a price to generate corrected results. Ones that showed no biological connection between Emily and Richard. Ones that even suggested tampering. It wasn't cheap. But Vanessa wasn't going to let her future crumble without a fight. She intercepted the original test results, the ones that proved, with near certainty, that Emily was Richard's daughter. She read them. Let them sit in her hands, For a moment, she almost changed her mind. Almost. But fear won. Fear of losing her place, her power, her carefully curated life. She destroyed the originals. 2 weeks later, Richard returned home early, a manila folder clenched in his hands. Emily, arranging flowers in his kitchen, looked up with a smile. But it faded the instant she saw his face. "Is everything okay?" "We need to talk," he said. 4 words that had marked every abandonment in her life. He laid the folder on the counter. His movements were stiff, distant. "I received a call this morning. The lab found irregularities, contaminated samples, so they retested with backups. Clean ones." He didn't meet her eyes. "They say you're not my daughter." Emily's world tilted. "That's not possible." Richard opened the folder. Photos spilled out, her at the Tribune, at the library, the copy shop. They felt like memories warped into accusations. "I was looking for jobs," she said, stunned. "Those were resumes, not whatever you think they are." "And the necklace, the photo? The way you just happened to get assigned to clean my office?" Emily shook her head. "You think I planned this?" Richard's voice dropped into something hollow. "You knew everything. My family, the fire, my grief." "I didn't even know you were the CEO when I took the job," she cried. He handed her another paper, the forged test. It was covered in technical jargon. One sentence stood out: "No." "Biological relation detected." Emily stared at it, disoriented. This isn't right. You know me. Look at me. Look in my eyes." "I see a stranger who wanted something badly enough to lie for it," Richard said, his tone flat. "And I fell for it. God help me, I fell for it." Emily stepped back like he'd slapped her. "Richard, I didn't lie," she whispered, "but—" His eyes, so warm just days ago, were shuttered now, wounded, cold. "I'm going to need you to leave," he said quietly. "Effective immediately." Her heart fractured. He was no longer looking at her like a daughter. He was looking at her like a mistake. "The necklace belonged to my mother," Richard said stiffly, watching Emily clutch the silver star like a lifeline. "I've had this since I was 5, she said, voice trembling. "How could I fake that?" "Silver stars aren't exactly rare," he replied coolly. "You could have bought one after seeing the photo in my office." His words were sharp, but his hands, she noticed, trembled slightly. "The real question is—" "What did you want?" he continued. "Money? Marriage? Was it just some sick game?" Emily's breath caught. "I never wanted anything but a family." "Stop," he snapped, sharper than he meant to. "Just stop the performance." "You got caught." His voice was emotionless, but the heartbreak beneath it was unmistakable. Emily didn't cry. She'd learned long ago that tears didn't fix anything, didn't soften anyone's judgment. So what happens now? You leave. He laid a stack of papers on the counter, a non-disclosure agreement. "In exchange for silence, no charges. You sign," he said, "and you disappear? Charges? You falsified DNA evidence. Tried to manipulate me emotionally." "That's fraud, Emily. That's identity theft." She stared at the pages. They weren't just paper, they were a death certificate for the identity she'd only just begun to believe in. She signed. Every page, Emily Carter. Not Whitmore. Not anymore. Then she slipped the necklace from her throat and placed it beside the papers. "This wasn't fake," she whispered. "It's the only thing I've ever had that connected me to the past." Richard didn't touch it. "Keep it. I don't want anything from you." Her voice had settled into something quiet, something final. "I forgive you," she added softly. "One day you'll realize what really happened here. I hope by then you've healed enough to face it." And then she walked out, didn't look back, didn't let herself feel. 3 months later, Crescent Bay, 90 miles north. Emily poured coffee in a sleepy coastal diner where no one asked about her past. The lake stretched endlessly beyond the windows, the salty wind masking the pain she carried every day. She wore no necklace now. That phantom chain still haunted her collarbone. Each morning was the same: breakfast rush, small-town chatter, tired feet, aching heart, but it was hers, not borrowed, not stolen, hers. At night she dreamed of stories half remembered, a swing set, Bedtime stories, soft voices she couldn't place. Sometimes she wondered if it had all been a hallucination. But then she'd remember the way Richard had looked at her that first day. The tears it had been real, even if he didn't believe it anymore. Meanwhile, in Chicago, Richard Whitmore sat in his office staring at the DNA report, the same one he'd reviewed a dozen times in the last week. Vanessa hovered nearby, offering sympathy and slowly erasing Emily's memory one careful suggestion at a time. "You were vulnerable," she said sweetly. "She saw it and took advantage, but you figured it out." Richard nodded. But something gnawed at him. Emily never asked for money, never tried to gain access to his accounts, never even accepted his gifts if she'd been running a con. She had been terrible at it, and Vanessa was suddenly always there, too helpful, too invested. She perched on his desk that day with a smile meant to comfort but masked something else: ambition. "You've been alone a long time, Richard, maybe. It's time to let someone in who truly cares about you." Her hand rested gently on his arm. And in that moment, Richard saw it clearly. Not affection. Not care. Control. Something cold crept into his chest. And for the first time in weeks, Richard thought about the necklace on his counter, still sitting there, untouched. Claimed. Like a ghost of a truth he hadn't wanted to believe. Vanessa leaned in gently, offering comfort masked as concern. "You don't have to be alone," she said softly. Richard forced a smile, grateful when his private line rang. It was Dr. Harrison. "I've been reviewing past lab protocols," the doctor said, "and there's something troubling about the test we did for the young woman who claimed to be your daughter." Richard's body tensed. "What is it?" he asked. "We never ran a second test. No backups exist for paternity samples. They're destroyed after the first test. And the results we gave you, they were conclusive. She was your daughter." The words hit Richard like a blow. His hand slipped, dropping the phone. Across from him, Vanessa watched closely, trying to read his expression. "Who was that?" she asked. "Dr. Harrison," Richard said flatly. "He says there was only one test, and Emily is my daughter." Vanessa's color drained. "That can't be right. You showed me—" "Did I?" Richard interrupted. "Or did you?" Panic flickered in Vanessa's eyes. "You were distraught." "Maybe you're confused. Then show me the report," he said coldly. I don't know where you keep it," but Richard already knew. He found the sealed envelope still in his files, unopened. The truth had never reached him. "Care to explain?" he asked, holding it up. Vanessa cracked. Her voice broke. "She would have ruined everything. We were perfect. I gave you everything, and she just replaced me." Richard stood still. "We were never together. You were my assistant, nothing more." Fury flashed across Vanessa's face. "She was a nobody, a cleaning girl. I mattered." "She was my child," Richard said quietly. "And you stole that from me." He took a breath. "You're fired." "Get out. And if you come near me again, I'll have you prosecuted." Vanessa left in silence. Alone, Richard opened the envelope with trembling hands. 99.7% probability of paternity. Emily had told the truth. He had cast her out for a lie. Now he had to find the daughter who had every reason to vanish. "She's smart," said Janet, the investigator Richard hired. "No cards, no social media, no phone contract. She's off the grid, intentionally." Richard sat across from her in a quiet cafe, frustration aging him beyond his years. "People don't just vanish," he said. "They do," Janet replied, "if they've had to learn how to survive without leaving traces." "Emily's motivated to stay gone." She handed him a file. 3 months ago, someone matching her. Description: applied for a job at a diner in Crescent Bay, a quiet town up north. The manager remembered her, no references, worked hard, kept her head down. "Is she still there?" Richard asked, his voice tight with hope. "Possibly. But if you just show up, she'd probably vanish again." 2 days later, Janet called. "She's there." Goes by Emily Carter. Waitress at Siegel's Diner, lives above a hardware store. Keeps to herself while volunteers at the library, locals like her. "How does she seem?" he asked. "Functional, but sad, like someone who stopped believing anything good can happen." Richard felt the weight of guilt settle in. He had broken her spirit. "I'm going," he said. Crescent Bay was a postcard town. He parked across from the diner and waited. When Emily appeared, pouring coffee with a polite smile, he felt his breath catch. She looked thinner, tired, haunted. He watched for over an hour, then checked into a local inn. "I'm here to apologize," he told the innkeeper, who offered. A soft nod. "The hardest visits," she said, "are often the most important." The next morning, Richard waited outside the library where she volunteered. At 9:15 she arrived, same calm grace, same quiet sadness. He watched her help an elderly man on a computer. She was patient, kind, a side of her he never got to know. Finally, he stepped inside. Emily looked up and froze. For a long moment, nothing moved, just the impossible reality of him standing there. "Emily," he said, voice shaking, "please, I need to talk to you." "There's nothing to say, Mr. Whitmore," she said, standing up. "You made your position clear. I was wrong," he said simply. "About everything." She led him outside to a bench behind the library. Lilacs bloomed nearby, but the air between them was heavy. "How did you find me?" she asked. "I hired people. Took weeks. I had to see you. I had to explain." "Explain what?" "That I'm no longer—" Emily stared at him, the color draining from her face. "Fake," she whispered. "You told me, you showed me proof." Richard nodded slowly, shame tightening his voice. "Vanessa forged a second report. The original results were never opened. I found them still sealed. You were telling the truth the whole time." Emily stood, wrapping her arms around herself like a shield. "So you believed a lie, because it was easier than believing I could be your daughter." "No," Richard said quietly. "I believed a lie because I was scared. Scared that loving someone again meant I could lose them. But the truth is I lost you anyway. And it was the worst mistake of my life." Tears burned at the corners of Emily's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "Why now? Why come all this way?" "Because I need to earn your forgiveness." "Not expect it. And if I can't, then at least you'll know the truth, that you were never the con." I conned myself into believing I didn't need you." The silence between them stretched. The breeze picked up. Emily looked out at the lake. Her voice was soft. "I wanted so badly to believe I had a father who saw me. Not just the mistakes, but the girl trying her best." "I see you now," Richard said. "All of you, and I want to be part of your life. Whatever that looks like." She turned to him, eyes searching his face. "It won't be easy. I don't trust easily anymore." "I don't deserve easy," Richard said. "Just a chance." A long pause and then a nod. "Then start with coffee," she said, gesturing back toward the library. "The old man you saw me helping, he makes a mean pie too." Richard smiled, eyes glassy. "Coffee sounds perfect." They walked back together, slowly, not as strangers, not yet fully as family, but something beginning. Something honest. Not built on wealth, not DNA, but on two broken people. Choosing to begin again, asterisk if this story moved you. If you felt Emily's pain, if you've ever been misunderstood, betrayed, or long for the truth to come out, single quotes, scroll just yet, hit like if you believe second chances are real. Comment family deserves truth if this story broke your heart and healed it too. And make sure to subscribe for more true life dramas, emotional twists, and stories that stay with you long after the video ends, because sometimes the ones who hurt us the most are the ones who fight hardest to come back.